Hey there, and welcome to my channel. My name is Crafty Kathy. This week, I've been busy doing a little spring cleaning around the old house, and I ran to the thrift store and got a few little items that I want to show you for some inspiration that you can do in your own home for spring and Easter decor. We're going to start off with this beautiful decorative plate that I got at Goodwill. I'm not sure how much I paid for it because I'd already taken the sticker off the back. I had accidentally spilled some paint on it before, but today we're going to upcycle it and make it something really nice that I can use for my spring decor. I'm going to color it with Gravel Road by DIY Paint. I did 2 full coats of the Gravel Road all over this piece to start off. I love how the DIY paint dries a lot lighter. Look, you can see right before your eyes the transformation and how beautiful this color is. The first thing I did was I took my Kindest Regards stamps, and these are IOD stamps, and we're just going to put our stamp down on here. I just want it in the center part. Now, if you're looking for any of these supplies that I show in my videos, the stamps or the DIY paint, and so many other supplies, I want you to visit Miss Lori at www.miltonsdaughter.com. I'll leave everything in the description box below because she is excellent to help you with any questions you may have, and she has all the great supplies that I use. So all I did was just flip my Kindest Regards stamp over, and like I said, I just wanted it in the middle. And if you'll see there, I got a little bit on the end, so I just ran right back over that with one quick coat of the Gravel Road. The DIY paint is so thick, it just covered it right up. I'm going to take this transfer that I got off of Amazon, and it is linked in my Amazon store. It's a bunch of different bunny rabbits. And if you've never done a transfer before, you just take that backing off, you lay it down, and it's almost like a sticker. And you use that little tool that they send you, and you just rub it all across where you're going to put your image, and then you pull it up and you've got your beautiful bunny image. I love to use transfers for a quick upcycle or a thrift flip. You can never go wrong when you're using a transfer. Then you just use that little backing that comes off of it and rub it over the top, and that's called burnishing it, and it just helps it to hold on really well and stick on there. I'm going to seal this with the Dixie Belle clear wax, and you do have to seal the DIY paint. And what I wanted to do is put down the clear wax first because I'm going to use a dark wax over this, and if you put a clear wax down first, it helps to be able to control that dark wax where it just won't be so much. You can take it off a little bit easier if you need to take some off. And I'm using some of my favorite DIY black wax, and I just add it all around my picture except for where the bunny is there in the center. Then I'm just going to use a paper towel and kind of wipe off the excess. And like I said, with me putting that clear wax down first, it helps to take off where I've got a little bit too much and just control that black wax a little bit better so it's not too dark. I also ran a little bit on both sides of the bunny. I didn't want to get it over the bunny because he's white, and I just didn't want to mess him up. I wanted him to kind of pop out from that picture. And then I just used my finger to go around on all these little like knobs or little divots and indentions there that's all around. And then there's this beautiful like floral design all the way around my plate. And I just kind of used my finger and just a little bit of that black wax and went around it to accentuate that part even more and make it pop even more. I think this turned out awesome. What a great way for a quick little thrift flip. Let me know what you think about this first one. I have so many bottles laying around, and bottles are an easy way to spruce up your decor, stick some flowers in them and make them beautiful. where we're going to do some decoupage on this bottle. Now, I picked this beautiful napkin, and I'm going to show you the big boo-boo that I made because I like to leave my boo-boos in here so that you don't make the same boo-boo, okay? Now, what I like to do is I like to paint my bottles with chalk paint because it always helps. It stays on there better, and I'm going to use this sponge dauber. It's just easier for me to use the little dauber because you just daub it up and down, and it creates a texture on your bottle that won't just come off so easily, and it also helps that decoupage. So what I do is I just use my white chalk paint by Waverly, and I'm going to go all around this bottle, and I'm going to color it by just kind of using this little dauber and bopping it up and down. I did the whole bottle and all the way up around the top. I've got this gorgeous napkin with these little birdies on it, and I'm going to use the DIY liquid patina as my decoupage agent. Now I'm going to use just a little small paintbrush and a little bit of water on the end of it to get the pattern off the way that I want it. You know, if you've been around my channel long, I don't do straight edges. To me, that just looks very unnatural, and I like it better with a little jagged edge. But the first thing I'm going to do real quick is put a little bit of liquid patina on my fingers to pull those plies apart of that napkin. So what I do is use that little paintbrush and my water and go around the area that I want to tear off, and it just wets it just enough to where you can tear it off. I always just squirt a little bit of water on my mat, and since I'm going to use this whole napkin, I still have to go around the very edges and make it kind of jagged because, like I said, we don't do straight edges. But see, that little bit of water is just enough for me to be able to just take the edges off the way that I want to. And when I got to this part, this is where I realized that I had got the wrong side of the napkin. I wasn't paying good attention to the napkin when I picked what sides I wanted. Okay, what I'm talking about is you see that line across the top that has that beautiful yellow pattern. I wanted that whole pattern on my little bottle. But what I should have done, instead of doing the napkin horizontal like I did, is I should have done it vertical. I should have only had one little piece of that napkin because it made the birds actually go sideways. I know that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but just know that I picked the wrong side. I cut off the wrong side, and it made the birds sideways, and it wasn't going to work. So what I ended up doing was getting two pieces of a napkin instead of one whole napkin being together the way that I wanted. But it's okay. It still turned out in the end. It was fine, and you could never tell that it was actually two napkins pieced together. So here we go, and I picked the two that I did, and I got in a big old hurry and forgot to take the backing off of the one that I just had to, peel apart. So there's another boo-boo that was made. So here we go. We're going to put this sucker down, and I'm going to show you how I decoupage it on here. When it comes to using your Mod Podge or your liquid patina on a napkin, less is more. Now, I use my little paintbrush, and I put very, very little on there. If you put too much, it's going to make that napkin too wet, and it's going to tear, and it's just not a good thing. So I put very little. And I always start out from the very center of the napkin. See, I put so little on there that I could peel it off if I needed to. But I just start at the center of the napkin and kind of run my fingers up and down it. And my holy grail for making sure that you don't have any bubbles or wrinkles is that saran wrap. You have to use your saran wrap if you don't want bubbles or wrinkles. But I just kept going all the way around, and I used my little saran wrap to work out any bubbles and wrinkles as I go. If you just use your fingers instead of the saran wrap, that napkin is going to stick to your fingers because the Mod Podge or the liquid patina or whatever decoupage medium you're using is very sticky. It's going to stick to your fingers, and you don't want that. So you need to use some saran wrap in your hand. That way you can just work out those bubbles and touch it after you get the napkin put down. And you will not have any bubbles or wrinkles, I promise, if you just go slow and you use that saran wrap. And you see how I'm just working out any bubbles or wrinkles. The heat from your fingers works like an iron, and with that saran wrap, it's like it just irons out any bubbles. And I always use that phrase, your fingers work like an iron, but really it does. And the practice makes perfect on this decoupage thing. Now this side of the bottle turned out beautiful. The other one did too, but I accidentally left that second ply on the back, and it creates bubbles and wrinkles because that bottom layer is the one that's sticking on, and the top layer is just kind of floating there in space. But yeah, so I'll go around and make sure that my edges are on really good, and I give it another quick go over to make sure there's no wrinkles. How many times did I say that? And you'll notice how I'm really taking my time and going slow on this area. And then the other day, I was watching my friend Brandy at the DIY Struggle, and she was talking about how she uses a sponge, you know, to put her parts down here. And I thought, well, that's genius, because I always use the saran wrap. But hey, if you use a sponge, think about it. It's going to soak up any of that Mod Podge that comes through that napkin, so you're not going to have an excessive amount. And it just is so much easier to use your little sponge, but just make sure you use that sponge and that saran wrap, and I promise you'll be okay. Now, this is the piece of napkin that I forgot to take that second ply off of. And it still worked out okay, but let me show you what happened. I put down my very, very little bit of liquid patina, and then I start from the center there. And then I'm going to go all the way around it with my little sponge. And like I said, the sponge is going to help soak up any of that Mod Podge that we need to use. And I can also put Mod Podge or the liquid patina, which is what I use, on my little sponge and use it from the outside of that napkin, and it soaks right through. And then I go right over it with that saran wrap to make sure that there's no bubbles and no wrinkles. I went all the way around with my little napkin, and I did the exact same thing as I did on the first one. I used my sponge and my little saran wrap. I got the edges sealed in, and it wasn't until I had this whole napkin on that I realized that I had 2 plies on there. And this is how I found out. If you'll look closely, I know it's kind of hard to see, but there was wrinkles, and I could not figure out why the saran wrap was not getting the wrinkles out. And I thought, what is going on? It was getting most of the wrinkles out, but it wasn't doing like if you decoupage often, you know that something's just not right. And I kept thinking, why can I not get these wrinkles out? And see the wrinkles, you can really see them around the bird there. But I just worked on it and worked on it to try to get the wrinkles out the best I could. But I had already realized my mistake that I left 2 doggone plies on there. So when I got finished with this, what I like to do is go around with my little dauber again at the top of the napkin and at the bottom. And you actually go on the napkin a little bit if you so desire. You don't have to do that, but I did. And here I am fooling with those wrinkles again. It just blew my mind, because I'm one of those ones that I always make sure that I've got my backing off. But it threw me off when I had to swap over and get another piece of napkin, and I just totally got in too much of a hurry and forgot to take that backing off of that second napkin. So I like to go around here and just make sure that everything blends in right, and I'm just going over it with that little dauber once again. Now I'm going to do another bottle since I kind of messed this one up a little bit. The bottle still turned out beautiful, but I was mad at myself, okay? I'm just going to be honest. And so I do another bottle in a moment, the right way. Now, I bought these little lights off of Amazon, and they go specifically in wine bottles. I have a friend that just keeps me loaded up with wine bottles all the time. So I have an overabundance of them, actually. So I bought these little lights, and they're specifically for the wine bottles. They go right down in there, and it's like a little cork that you can flip on and off, and it's the lights. and it's going to make this bottle so pretty. So all you do is just push your lights down in there and then flip it on at the top. And I'm going to show you what it looks like with the lights off and on. Let me know what you think about this first bottle.
I was counting my blessings. I felt beaten down. I was looking for a calling, felt lonely in a crowd. I was searching for the answers, too blind to see the signs. His light and picked me up.
Now we're going to start on our second bottle. And I went really slow on that first bottle so that you could get the technique down. And this second one's going to go much faster. So the first thing that I did was just use my little a piece of sponge here, and I'm daubing it all on. I have a little helper with me. Kaysen was helping me out do this part, but it's so easy that a 4-year-old can do it. You could say that. But here we are just putting the paint on and daubing it on the little wine bottle. The next thing that I'm going to do is put a little bit of water on my brush, and this time I'm definitely going to make sure that I get the correct bunnies going the correct direction. And then I just tore off that backing, and I realized that this one has 2 backings on it. So I made sure to take them off, and then I go all the way around the edges because we don't do those straight edges, and just put a little bit of water all the way around the edges, piece off to make it just torn. I put a little bit of the liquid patina on my fingers to make sure that I have that backing off, and believe you me, I made sure that I had the backing off. And one way that you know that you have the backing off is if there's a white, mostly white on the napkin, it's very, very see-through like this one is. Now, this one is much smaller than the other napkin, but I wanted to use this one because it was so pretty. And this one is going to be 1 piece of a napkin instead of 2. We're just going to wrap it right around this bottle, and it went around it at a perfect circumference where I didn't have to take any of it off. And once again, I'm just going to put some of the liquid patina on my little sponge and put it down on the bottle. And then I lay my bunny, because he's the center of the bottle, I'm just going to lay him down, starting off in the center. Make sure that I use that saran wrap. And honestly, when you're putting your Mod Podge on, it doesn't really matter if you use a brush or a sponge at first, because I just use very, very little. That's the main thing, is to use just a little bit of that product. I like to brush mine on with the brush and then use the sponge later to soak up any kind of excess. So I'm just using my sponge and my saran wrap and going around and putting this beautiful little guy all on this bottle. Like I always say, the key to making sure that your decoupage is successful is to use that saran wrap, use that sponge, and just take your time, and don't use too much of your Mod Podge or liquid patina. Just be careful, and you can do this, I promise. And so I worked with this little bottle because one of the sides had a little bit more wrinkles than the other, but it's okay. I just used my saran wrap and I got it out. And it was because this napkin was so very thin, it just wanted to wrinkle up on me. But you just take your time and you work with it. And if any of your white comes off, the paint that you normally put on, it's okay, because remember, we go right back over it when we're finished with our little sponge, and we just daub a little bit more paint on it to make it look like it's all one cohesive piece. And since there was such a big gap on the top and the bottom of this bottle, I felt like it needed something else. And jute twine is always the easy solution to put on there. So I have this jute twine that I got from, I think I got it from a thrift store, to be honest with you. And it's a brown and white kind of striped motif. I don't know. So I just put a little bit of glue at the bottom of my bottle, and I started winding that jute twine up to where I thought that it looked good at the very top. and Kaysen was bringing me peace offerings as I was going. All kinds of little eggs and saying, "Gran, look what I found." And I was just trying to get this done, and I hope you guys like the way it turns out. I also felt like it needed some jute twine at the top, so I added some at the top just like I did along the bottom of the bottle. And then, after I had wrapped that part, don't you know that the neck of the bottle looked naked to me? So I thought, okay, what are we going to do here? And so I just added a little bit more of that jute twine up at the top of that. And then I made sure to get a lighter and burn off all those little fuzzies. But you have to be careful because remember, that napkin is paper. Now, you know me, if this bottle was to catch on fire, I'm going to grab that thing and chuck it out of my craft room real fast. But just be careful and make sure you have something to put out a fire. It's never happened to me, honestly, and I go crazy with it, and I do a lot of flames because I like that darker look. But just be careful and just know your surroundings and what you're doing there. I'm going to add just a little bit of glue and a little flour to the side because I thought that this flower just added something to the bottle. Plus, it was the same color as the little flowers that's in the bunny picture. And then I'm just going to add a little sprig of lavender right up above that to complete this little bottle. And Kaysen keeps adding that little blue flower that don't match anything in this world to the top of the bottle. But I let him do it because I want to make that baby happy. When I took it out, he'd put it right back in.
Up there too.
Oh, yeah.
It fits up there. Put the blue one back up there.
Okay.
See? It works. Yay!
And I popped one simple little pearl inside that flower to top it all off. The next one is an upcycle. This little bunny, after I had spray painted him, you could still see a crack that was in the side of him. Now, nothing was out. It was just a little crack in the he's made out of ceramic. So he was yellow to start off with, and I spray painted him white. Now, here is a simple way to cover up just a little crack. All I have is some of that Waverly white chalk paint, and you know chalk paint's thicker, and I'm going to use this little sponge and just daub it all around this bunny rabbit, and it covered that crack up, and you could never even tell that it was there. Now, in most cases, if you have something like this, you would just throw it out or get rid of it. But why not just upcycle it and just cover up that little crack and use him just one more year and see how long he lasts? The first thing that I did was take some transfers that I had got back in the fall. Now, these transfers are in my Amazon store. And to be honest with you, I don't recommend these transfers because they crack a lot. And they had just like a different texture from any transfer that I've ever used before. Now, I don't know what name brand of these are for the life of me, but I got these off of Amazon, and I don't like them as well. Now, I had these back in the fall, like I said, so I had forgotten that they kind of crack a little bit. But me and Kaysen was just going to put this little pink flower on the little bunny's bottom here, and that way he would have a little something added extra. I did this transfer just like I do any other transfer. You pull the backing off and lay it down on the object you're going to put it on, and just use either the little scraper tool that they send you, or in this case, I just used my fingernail because it was an odd shaped surface and it just seemed better to do it that way. Then I had taken some little floral foam and put it inside that tiny little hole on the bunny's bottom. And I'm just going to add some simple florals to this. Very small little bits of florals. I cut these pieces off from this stem that I got at Dollar Tree, and it's called Greenery. It's got all these beautiful different types of florals in it, and it's my favorite greenery that comes from the Dollar Tree. I also added some of these stems from a different floral that I had. And I'm sure that I got these at Hobby Lobby. I don't really know what they're called. They just have little purple buds on them and they're really pretty. And then I decided to add that little bit of that yellow that comes from that stem called greenery. And I just felt like it needed something else. And I noticed that those little transfers had a butterfly on them. And it's a little pink butterfly that matches that flower perfect. So we're going to put this kind of right over where those flowers are on his little bottom. I just felt like this didn't look right for some reason with the purple and the yellow little florals. So I just kept picking and poking around until I actually got it the way that I thought it looked good. I ended up taking all of the yellow out where there was just a little bit of purple that matched that pink on the bunny's bottom. And that's how simple it is to take some of your old decor and spruce it up and make it beautiful and new again. I hope you like it.
Tick-tock, the clock keeps ticking. I don't know what I should do, and I wish you would be right here with me.
This last one is the simplest of all of them. I got this beautiful cutting board. It's got little feet on it from Hobby Lobby back in the fall when all of their spring stuff was 90% off. I only paid like $2 for it, and it's gorgeous. Now, for some reason, I didn't have the camera rolling when I put the little transfer on here, but it's a transfer from the pots. It's called the Traditional Pots Transfer Book, and it's got all these beautiful black transfers, white transfers, and blue transfers, and they are all like a label looking transfer to me. And I picked the little birds for the spring, and then I put some words underneath them, and I didn't feel like it was enough, so I actually did show myself putting this last one on there. And this one is just a piece of a transfer that came out of that same book, but it doesn't belong to the bird picture, but it just goes to show that you can use bits of pieces with all these IOD transfers, and it all comes together and looks perfect. Now, I'm just adding this last one, and that's pretty much all I did to this was add the transfer from Traditional Pots. And Miss Lori at Milton's Daughter does sell these transfers, by the way. She sells all of the IOD, all of the DIY paint. Most of the materials that I use in my videos comes from Lori's store. So that's all I did to this one, and I hope you like it. If you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you very much, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And I'm sorry that I got this video out a little bit late, but I do have a special guest for y'all that I hope that y'all will enjoy. Well, I'll catch you back here next time. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
Hey y'all, it's your favorite Cousin Bobby Joe Wumbo, coming in to say hello on this fine chilly day. You know, I thought it was already springtime. I've been wearing my short pants and everything else. I even jumped in the creek one day to take my bath there. But you know what? It got cold on us again. This morning it was 30 degrees and I about froze my big old tush off. But anywho, I'm not there to talk about this, but let me tell y'all what happened to me this week. Oh my goodness, and no, I didn't go to jail. Yeah, you know I'm always in the slammer. Yeah, baby, that's a Tennessee way. But anywho, I got this letter in the mail, and it said that it was asking me to do jury duty. Now, I've never had anything like that before, so let me tell you what my thoughts are. Y'all know that I'm headed to Hollywood, and any day now I've been waiting on these big Hollywood agents to come a-calling and knocking on my door here in Tennessee. But they haven't done so yet. But let me tell you, they're warming up, baby. Because you tell me how else the courthouse got my information where they would be sending me a letter wanting me to make an appearance in court. Okay? Think about that. Now, they had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get my name for that jury duty. And do you know why? Well, because the many times that I have ended up in the slammer, it should have made them think twice about putting me on the jury. But I just know in my heart of hearts that somebody from Hollywood is going to be in that audience that day when they're doing that court case. And they just want to see how I'm going to act when I'm sitting on that jury. And you know I'm going to have to make a scene. Oh, yeah, baby. I might even get up right in the middle of that jury trial and just do some kind of monologue. Like, do you remember my favorite one when I go to an acting commercial? Like whenever I have to go and do my auditions, you know? My favorite thing to do is pick up a tater, just like Scarlett did in Gone from the Wind, in that part where she bites that tater. I think she might have a carrot, but all I had in my pantry was taters. So anyways, I pick up that tater just like Scarlett O'Hara picked up that carrot, and I take a bite and I say, I will never be hungry again. Yeah, baby! And you know they're gonna want me after I do some kind of big foo-foo deal like that. Yeah! So as of now, I'm still waiting on Hollywood to call me. Hint, hint. I know you're out there watching, and I know y'all think this is Kathy's channel, but remember, I am her cousin, so what is hers is mine. But I just wanted to touch base with yous and let yous all know what was going on with me. And so I'll just be sitting here in the hills of Tennessee till some big Hollywood producer comes and plucks me out like a dandelion blowing in the wind. But I'm going to get off of here right now because all that talk about taters has made me want one of my favorite meals, which is taters and Vienna weenies. But until next time, I will see y'all, and I love you so much. Bye!
Thank y'all for watching. Did you know that if you're on a phone or a tablet that you can just click on my face right here and subscribe to this channel? You sure can, and I would love for you to do that. Also, if you want another video that was just as good as this one, click on it and it'll take you there in a minute. Love y'all.